Welcome to the Going North podcast, where you will be encouraged, informed, and empowered to embrace your dreams and advance in life through authorship. I'm your host, best-selling author, certified leadership trainer, and book enthusiast Dom Reitman. Be sure to check out the goods and services for every guest, as well as some of the books from yours truly, the host. Now let the fun begin. And today on the highlight reel builder for authors known as the Going North podcast, I got to give a big shout out to the fellow D himself, or should I say the wonderful DM himself, for connecting me with this fabulous human right here, because my goodness, we got a treat for you today, folks. It's still holiday cheer at the end of 2020, where folks are hoping 2021 doesn't drink 2 kegs instead of one that 2020 drank, because we got a special guest in the home today, baby, the podcast home where the homies are. Because this fabulous lady right here has been around the world, and she currently resides in the big old state of Texas, baby. She loves writing about vampires as well as people with supernatural abilities, and this all makes her giddy. And funny enough, this is all because she grew up in the wonderful state of Michigan, spending time in several parts of the world as a provider, her with some unique perspectives and innumerable opportunities for storytelling. So let's give it up for the fabulous author herself, Miss Kristy Smith. How you doing today, ma'am?
Hello, how are you?
Doing fabulous indeed, doing fabulous. It's great to see you, especially with the glasses. That means you're good people.
I can see. That's right. Very good.
That's right. Sometimes you just have to have the extra eye to make it 5 eyes, especially out here nowadays, because the third eye is overrated. Got to put on glasses so it can be the 5th eye. Oh, man. But yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So my goodness, as you know, with all introductions, they're not allowed to be 67 and a half days long. So mind filling in any cavities I missed about the kind Kristy herself?
Let's see. I am married. I've been married for almost 18 years. I have 2 children. I have a tween and a teen. So we're getting to the very fun years of parenthood, I think. Outside of writing, I play tennis. I play it as often as I can, aside from taking care of my family and all of that stuff too. Obviously, that goes without saying. So and I enjoy gardening as well. So those are kind of my 3 main interests outside of motherhood. But I think I've traveled a lot. I've lived in a lot of different places. I've visited a lot of places. I like to take a little bit with me from wherever I've been. So I kind of hold on to things as well. I'm not too much of a hoarder, but I do like to hold on to things. So that's in a nutshell, I suppose.
That's what I'm talking about. One of those good nutshells indeed. So walnuts or cashews?
Let's do cashews. Yeah.
Yeah. A Virgo with glasses and she loves cashews. All righty. Thanks a bunch, Dan. That's what I'm talking about. Definitely some great people right here indeed. Yes, indeed. So as with all world traveling, I'm pretty sure there are plenty of lessons that you've picked up. Is there any 2 that stick out to you from all of your travels?
Gosh, I think one of the biggest things I learned really early on is there isn't necessarily one right way, and that applies to most everything. Growing up in the Midwest, you kind of, you're used to the brands that you see at the grocery stores. You're used to the way things are done in your neck of the woods, and then you move somewhere else. I've moved around the U.S. and around the world, and every time I've moved, I've noticed more and more things kind of level out, I guess, a little bit more, because you realize that you don't need to rely on things to be exactly as they were when you were little or exactly as they were before and still be okay. It was funny, we lived in Dubai for a while, and one of the first things I realized was the brand names were different, but the products still worked, and it kind of, even something as simple as that kind of opened my eyes that it's okay if something's different. It doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong or bad, and to kind of go with that and flow with that. Also, something that I have kept with me is that no matter where I've been, people are still people. They're living their lives. They go to work, they go to school, they raise kids, they, our kids, whatever, they're still people. And it doesn't matter where in the world you are, we all still have the same needs. We have similar wants. We have similar responsibilities. Those are major generalizations, but it's basically true. So I think those are two of the things that I've carried with me throughout my life.
There we go. Some magical twins indeed. That's what I'm talking about. Even though they're not exact twins. Yes, indeed. So definitely some good lessons, because people are always people, and brand names really don't matter, because it's like at the end of the day, we all just want to live, survive, and thrive. And
that's right.
Brand names ain't gonna really mean too much anyway in terms of what you really need.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So my goodness, so you had this love of vampires. Was this before or after Twilight?
Oh, well before.
Okay, good.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I'm not, I read all the Twilight stuff, so I'm not above any of that by any means. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, I think I've always enjoyed consuming vampire lore and vampire stories. As an adult, my favorite ones were always the Anne Rice novels. She's kind of my go-to as far as what I enjoy reading and what I think about when I write, and how I try to give voice to the characters and talk to the potential audience, I suppose.
That's what I'm talking about indeed. So what inspired the love of vampires and just consuming it? Because I'm pretty sure they want to consume us humans. They want all the blood, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I think I must have seen something, a cartoon or something as a kid, and I just always felt attracted to that. I've never felt scared. I'm not, I like more horror movies now, but I've never been big on like monster, scary horror movies. But I never was afraid watching anything to do with the vampires. Even the scary stuff, it never really scared me, even when I was little. So for some reason, and I don't know what this says about me, but for some reason, I think I've always kind of understood where they were coming from. So whatever that means, I don't know, but
I guess that means you're a night owl.
That's absolutely true. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Always have been. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yes, indeed. Night owl swag, and then making sure you capture a young man and absorb his youth, so that way you can stay alive for 18 years and still look like you're 18. Good times, right?
Yeah. I mean, what would be better, to be honest? So.
Oh my goodness, my goodness. Love it indeed. Well, hey, that's probably another reason why I decided to focus most of one of your books on vampires. So my goodness, congratulations on joining the business of immortality. 2 books out and many more to come, I imagine.
Yeah, I have one book of my own out, and I actually have an essay in another book that's out, and I'm working on book 2 in the series. So I'm still surrounded by vampires, which is great. My happy place.
That's right. We want you to write about us, write about all of us. That's right. Write about all of us. That's right about you. Tell them that you're secretly the vampire, trying to absorb the world of positivity and spread it out and multiply it. That's right. You spread it out like butter on bread. But enough about nonsense. This is all about you and all the wonderful stuff that you have. So my goodness, with finally stepping out on your own and finally making the first book, what's probably been 3 good lessons you learned from publishing the first book that you plan to implement for book number 2?
So that's a good question. The first book, I didn't have a plan. I just decided to start writing one day. And so I did. And, then I got 10,000 words in and thought, gosh, I can do this. And I kept going and there were more words and it just kind of kept going. And as I got further into it, I realized that maybe it was a thing. And, we're fortunate that we live in an age where self-publishing is a thing, and it's accessible. It's something that, depending on how much you're willing to put into it, or what or the way you want to put your book out, you can either, you could literally just write a few thousand words and put it up on Amazon and you can sell it. You don't have to necessarily have it edited. You don't necessarily have to hire a graphic artist. However, those things are all recommended. We live in a time where you don't have to do that. And you certainly don't have to go to a major publishing house and get, 40, 50, 200 rejections before you can move forward with your writing. And for me, I appreciate that because I've used that to my advantage. I decided to write the book and I put it out and I just did it. But the lessons were that sometimes, jumping in headfirst isn't always the best idea. You should have a bit of a plan. And when I first started writing the first book, I had an idea of what I wanted the protagonist to be. And I had an idea of, the baddies in the situation. But beyond that, I didn't really have any sort of structure. I didn't really have any sort of, how am I going to get from the beginning to the end, and what's the middle going to look like? And, in the writing world, that's called being a pantser. So I was a complete pantser with that book. However, book 2, I am a planner. And the problem with being a Virgo and a planner is that sometimes you can overplan and get yourself so stuck in the detail that it's hard to move forward. So I do try not to do that. I'm cognizant that I can let myself do that. So I have an outline, I have an idea, I know my characters well because some of them have come over from the first book. So that helps. Another lesson I've learned is it's okay to always be learning and to understand that your first draft is not the book. It's not what your book is going to look like. It's not what it's going to sound like. And it may be almost unrecognizable at the finish compared to what it was at the beginning. But as long as your heart is still in it and you've done what you felt was correct, then that's what works. So, I've got I'm a planner now. I'm learning the craft as you go is certainly still a good thing. And a third lesson, it's great to live in an age of self-publishing, but self-promotion is another beast all unto itself. And if you want to sell books, you also have to know how to promote your books. And I am at the very bottom rung of that ladder. So those are the lessons I've learned and am still learning.
Yeah. That's right, because we're all still learning and growing and getting better and not better indeed. Yes, indeed. Some solid lessons right there, because it's so darn true, especially with the self-publishing route, especially nowadays. It's so easy to do. And the thing is, the aftermath is like, all right, well, it's out there. Now I just gotta, get myself out there, let them know, hey, this book is shiny. It exists.
Yeah.
It'll entertain you. It's great stuff.
Right. I struggle with that because I I'm really good at telling you why you shouldn't buy something. I'm not very good at telling you why you should buy it. So for me, the self-promotion and the, look at this shiny, wonderful thing I made, that part is the hard part, because I'm like, oh, well, look, there's a scratch there. It's not as shiny as I thought, and I don't know. I guess again, it kind of goes back to being a Virgo. I'm a perfectionist, and that's a hard place to be. If you want people to read your book, if you want to let it out into the world, because perfection it doesn't exist, I don't think, in writing. I mean, you can write a great sentence, you can write a great chapter, you can write, you can technically compose a great piece of writing, but there's always going to be someone who doesn't see it the same way you do, or someone who doesn't like it for whatever reason. It could just be it's not their thing, whatever. So it's never going to be perfect. And so getting stymied by perfection is something that I struggle with. And I struggled a long time before I decided to click upload for Amazon. I was absolutely petrified.
Yeah, happens to the best of us. Definitely happens to the best of us. And you're so right, because with both of my books personally, heck, even a co-author project I was a part of, even after the book was all printed, the cover was finally right and approved by Amazon, I still reread the book again and still found errors in all the darn books.
Right.
You're right.
Look at any major publishing house book. I mean, any book I've read, I've never read one that doesn't have, some sort of typographical error, or, small grammar or error in grammar, or punctuation, or, just something, regardless of content even, so there's always going to be something. Even a manuscript that has been scoured by several pairs of eyes is still going to have some flaws. And that's, I guess, going back to lessons, that's another lesson I've learned, is that perfection doesn't exist, and that's okay.
That's right, unicorns. Y'all are so normal now. You don't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Now it's about the yellow rhino with the butterfly wings now. Forget unicorns.
I think my daughter would really like that, actually. She would like one of those.
That would be a sight to behold. Wouldn't it? Just a yellow rhino, heck, even a pink rhino with butterfly wings.
If you can dream it.
Ah, yeah, that's right. If you could dream it, you could do it. That's right.
What they say.
That's right. You can mountain do it. That's right. But yeah, definitely so right indeed. So my goodness. So for those who want to pick up some of what to expect from book number 1 and are probably salivating from the mouth after reading it, what is a taste of what we can expect from book number 1? I mean, or should I say book number 2, the vampire book, the solo project.
My first book, my book, is called Turning Point. And it is essentially the story of a young woman who discovers that her family history isn't what she thought it was, and that vampires exist. And this woman who's always kind of held on to all things academic and actual and tangible is suddenly dealing with what she thought was mythical. And she's also dealing with some issues with her family and how that kind of comes into play with the vampires as well. I'm trying not to give it away necessarily, but it's an important part of the book. So essentially, we come to find out that the protagonist has some vampire blood in her history, and that kind of changes things for her as she's coming into adulthood. And she has some big choices to make, and she has a lot of new pressures to deal with and relationships to navigate and try to understand. So and there's also, blood and vampire biting and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. So something for the folks who love some vampire swag, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure there's going to be a follow book. Is there any other genres you think you might explore in the future?
At this point, I don't have any plans for different genres. I'm working on the second book in the series, but I'm also working on another vampire book, but something totally different. It's a completely different universe, different characters, different setting, entirely different. Entirely different inspiration for that book as well. So.
Okay. All righty. Top secret G14 classified. I got you. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I guess I'll have to be a secret squirrel and hide in a tree and wait for it, huh?
Well, it's coming out in drips and drabs, so hopefully you'll see it eventually.
All righty. Okay. All right. I guess I'll have to make sure the squirrel is wearing a turban too while it's waiting then. Oh my goodness. Yes, indeed. That's a nice visual for you, right?
I'm playing it through in my brain right now.
Oh my goodness. Well, since this is far from your first rodeo, is there a question you wish you'd be asked more often when you're on these wonderful podcasts?
Oh gosh. I don't know. Let's see, a question I wish I would be asked. I don't know. Did I enjoy the process of writing the book? Maybe that's a good one, because can I answer it? Can I answer that question?
Of course you can.
Okay. All right. Because I've really enjoyed writing and learning to write. And I mean, I've always kind of been a bit of a writer, but I had never tackled anything like a novel, a full-length novel. I'd written a few short stories, but nothing even published. It was just for myself. But I've learned so much. It's been 6 years since I started writing Turning Point, and it took me 5 years to get it out to the public. And at least a year and a half of that was me going, oh, I don't want to do it, even after it was already done. But I've really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about the craft of writing. I've learned about social media and marketing. I've learned about what things that can matter more to a writer and what things that you can ignore and still be able to put yourself out there. So I've learned a lot, and I've enjoyed the process, and I love it because I'm still learning. Even earlier today, I was just looking up, my second book is written in the first person, and that's kind of new for me. I've done it a little bit, but not, again, not for a full length novel. And so for getting tips on how to best put that story forward, I'm learning constantly. And I think that that's really valuable because, as a kid, you think, well, I'm going to go to school, and then maybe I'll go to college, and maybe I'll get a postgrad degree, maybe, but you don't really think about learning something almost tangible, really, your whole life. And I feel like I've really got back into learning through this endeavor.
That's right. Some wonderful self-discovery. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. And heck, it
Yeah.
is so true. Like sometimes, heck, even like me in particular, I'm not a huge lover of the writing. I prefer to be the reader because it's less stress.
That's true. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, especially the stress of not having to do the whole self-promotion thing. It's like getting better at it, but it's like, oh, Yeah, I got this thing. It's fabulous. It's not crabby. It doesn't have pincers. You'll be all right. It's like it's good for you.
There you go. That's it.
And it's so inspiring that you're able to press publish finally after sitting on this project for 6 years.
Mm.
Well, I guess in a way, I guess for a year and a half, but it took 6 years altogether to finally put it all together, I imagine, right?
Yeah, it's been out for a year. So it took me 5 years to decide it, well, to put it all together. But probably the last year and a half was me coming up with the reasons of why I shouldn't push upload. I really went through, I don't think I've ever had cold feet like that before. And I felt almost a real visceral panic because of it. I like people to like me, and it's hard. It's scary. It's a scary proposition to put something out into the world that, I think it's pretty good, but what if somebody else doesn't like it? Well, why don't they like me? That was kind of the feeling I had. And I can't tell you how freeing it was to just hit that upload button. And then I was like, well, it's done now. So I guess I don't have to worry about it anymore, And so I would say if you're ever, struggling with that kind of stuff, it's just go through it and just do it and get it done. And then if you have to deal with stuff, you have to deal with stuff. But if you believe in what you've done, especially if it's come from your heart, it can't be bad. It can't be. So
Amen to that. Amen to that. If it comes from your heart, it can't be bad. Yes,
yeah.
indeed. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. Some good old heat of passion. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, yeah. So, my goodness, wow. So glad you finally got over that visceral pain that was coming over you from all of
Yeah.
that. So what do you think is, so I'm guessing the desire to please people, you think that might have been the main reason that held you back from finally pressing the publish button, or was it something else, or?
No, it was, yeah. I mean, the desire to please people certainly is strong with me. I was just scared. I was really scared that, well, and I don't know if you know this, but sometimes the internet can be kind of mean, and you know, so I was, I I don't handle confrontation. I don't like confrontation. I don't ever want to say anything that's going to upset someone. And I don't think my book is offensive or anything like that, but I mean, maybe someone will find it offensive somewhere. And then you get that seed in your brain of, oh, well, great. Now everyone's going to hate it. And so I didn't have any specific thing that happened that made me think that someone is not going to like it. It's just, fear of rejection, I think. Everyone kind of has a little bit of that, I think. But we were on vacation, and it was funny because I was in a hotel room in New Mexico on our way up to Colorado, and that was where I hit the upload button. And I just had such a sense of relief there. And I guess maybe knowing that I was heading to my vacation kind of helped, because already my brain was kind of relaxing and in coast mode. But yeah, I think that's all it was. It's just fear of rejection. And I just pushed through it and hoped for the best.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, indeed. Because, yeah, internet can be mean, but it can be not so mean, too. Like, heck, even funny enough, talking with the other guest on the show recently, and she mentioned how there's a happy part of Twitter called the writers lift on Twitter and writers community on Twitter, which is actually like the happy Twitter. And I've never
Yeah.
heard those two words together ever. Like, usually whenever
Right.
someone says Twitter, it's usually something bad.
Yeah, usually happy and Twitter don't necessarily go together. But yeah, I find what's funny is I find Twitter can be quite a community. I mean, there's lots of different communities on there, but when you can find your people, it actually can be a pretty decent place to be. It can be horrible too, but I think it can be a pretty decent place to be.
That's right. You found your nice little ice desert in a land of fire. It's great.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, that's what I'm talking about indeed. Well, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if you're to wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but this time in the current year of 2020, with all of your amassed knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
Gosh. Stop waiting. Stop waiting for something to happen that will mean that it's okay for you to do the thing you want to do. Your choices are your own, and it's great to have people around you and it's great to have your community, but if it's something that you want to do and something that you believe in, just do it, and don't necessarily wait for approval, and don't rely on what somebody else needs for you to do what you want to do, especially if it's not hurting people. Don't hurt people.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right indeed. Yes, indeed. Don't wait indeed. That's right. Definitely don't hurt people. If you want to stab somebody, use a corn cob. It'll be easier.
Something like that.
It'll just be a big WTF and we're like, what the fudge, dude? A corn cob? Where'd you get this anyway? What kind of murder scene is this?
This isn't going to work, I don't think.
It's like, yeah, I didn't have enough for a shiv, so just had to go to corn cob. Like, this ain't prison.
Grabbed the corn cob. It was close. I don't know.
Oh, man. Yes, indeed. So there you have it, folks. Be like the Special K herself. Don't wait to hit that publish button once you're done. Get your stuff out there. So that way folks can devour it, and then they'll be like, hey, buddy, you're going to get a 1-star review because I don't have the follow-up book to this yet. That's right.
Yeah.
But give her 5 stars, though. 5 stars are always
Please.
better.
Yeah. That's right. I prefer. That's what I would prefer. I mean, I live in the Lone Star State, but we could do 5. That'd be fine.
That's right. Don't give her the Lone Star. Give her 5 Lone Stars. That's right. That's right. Give her 5 Texases, y'all.
That's right. Exactly. That's what I'm looking for.
Oh, man. So for those who want to give you those 5 states of Texas all at once and keep up with all the stuff that you're doing, what's the best way for folks to reach out to you, Kristy?
Sure. I'm fairly active on Facebook. It's my Facebook page is under KM Smith Author. You can also look me up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I think technically Pinterest under Kristy, not Kirsty. So it's KRISTYNOTKIRSTY. And that's my handle on pretty much all of those sites. I'm quite active on Instagram right now too as well. I've got a series out that's kind of fun.
I love it, folks. Well, there you have it, folks. You heard all the handles. Go ahead and show some love to those handles and follow her on all her social medias. More importantly, buy her book. Buy some copies of it. Buy multiple copies. Be on the lookout for the follow-up book too. Heck, slide into her DMs and be like, hey, Kristy, this book's awesome. When's book number 3 coming out? And
that's what I love to hear. That'd be great.
Yeah, exactly. Because she'll be like, hey, I haven't even finished book 2 yet. It'll be great.
I like the encouragement. It'll be great.
Yeah, that's right. We like to have little leaves called Encourage, or this podcast. It's a little village of mints called Encouragement.
It's great. I like it.
That's right. They stay minty fresh. They fight off bad breath and negativity.
Perfect.
And that might be an idea for a future novel years down the road for me. That'll be freaking great.
There you go. That's it. That's the one.
Oh, gosh. Well, for those who want to keep, oh, I already said that part. So, since we're coming down to the end, any parting words before we close up shop, Kristy?
Well, thank you for tuning in and listening. And thank you, Dom, for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity to share my story, even though it probably isn't very straightforward, but here I am anyhow telling it. So I appreciate the opportunity to do that. And like you said, if you are willing and interested, then I'd love it if you wanted to support my writing by purchasing the book. It's in ebook and paperback on Amazon, available now.
How's it going, you super special awesome human? Since you made it to the end of this episode, it looks like you really enjoyed yourself. Since you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share with at least 3 people in your network and tell them what you really liked about this episode. Heck, even shoot myself or the guest an email and let them know what you liked most about this interview, so that way they can stay inspired to keep pushing out great work.